Hello, third graders. This is a video lesson for Math Expressions 2018 edition, Unit 4, Lesson 11. And what we're going to look at today is making sense of word problems or real life situations that involve time intervals. I can tell you right now that for me, this would not be enough room for me to actually show my work. So what I have open is I've opened up a Jamboard. You should use a separate sheet of paper, name, number, date at the top of it. I would even write math lesson 411. That's the way I annotate it. It's 4.11 just to keep it short. But unit 4, lesson 11, so that you know what work it is. So I've got this set up to use as my piece of paper. So it says to solve, use a clock or sketch a number line diagram if you need to. Alrighty then, well, I think I'm going to just jump right in. Now, students in my class know that we have to use a deal to show our work for word problems. And what a deal stands for is A for annotate, D for math drawing, E for an equation that includes a variable. Yes, variables in third grade. In my class, we use the variable n. A to check that you have the correct answer, and L to check that you have the correct label. For the purpose of what we're doing here, my students are not expected to show an equation. So we always start by reading the problem and annotating for the important information. Number 1 says, Mr. Cox caught a train at 1:45 p.m. to visit his grandchildren. The train trip lasted 35 minutes. Then he spent 10 minutes waiting for a cab and another 15 minutes riding in the cab. What time did Mr. Cox get to his grandchildren's house? What time? I'm going to go back and I'm going to circle the important math numbers. 1:45 p.m. and that p.m. gives me some good information right there. And that's our start time. That's what time he got on the train. 35 minutes is part of our elapsed time. 10 minutes is part of our elapsed time. 15 minutes is part of our elapsed time. And the question is, what time did Mr. Cox get to his grandchildren's house? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to snip this out and I'm going to put it over here on my paper. Now, you probably have the ability to have it all set up in front of you pretty easily, but I don't have that ability to do on my screen. So this is my plan B. And we've annotated this already. I'm going to look at the time that's gone by and I want to total the elapsed time. So my elapsed time was 35 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes. So how many minutes total is that? Well, 5 plus 0 plus 5 is, and I think I should change my color, is 10. So I'm going to make a new group over here. 3, 4, 5, 6. 60 minutes. Okay. Well, what do we know 60 minutes is equal to? It's equal to, or it is also 1 hour. So if I'm going to go back and I'm going to think about from 1:45, what is the elapsed time? 1 hour. What is 1 hour after 1:45? Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. You can use a clock, you can use a number line. This one, I think you could use mental math, but I'm still going to use a number line here. So if I'm going from 1:45 and I'm jumping ahead 1 hour, 1 hour later is 2:45 p.m. So what time did Mr. Cox get to his grandchildren's house? Let me go over here. I am going to put my answer right here. Hello, typos, Batman. There we go. Mr. Cox arrived at his grandchildren's house at 2:45 p.m. My work is over here on my piece of paper or my Jamboard. I think that this is a good spot for you to pause the video. I'm going to continue to go through each problem, but it would be best if you practiced these skills first, come back, and compare what you've done with what I do. Any questions that you have, make an annotation on your paper, put a star or a question mark, and ask your teacher at a later time. Pause the video now. Hopefully, you've attempted these problems 2 through 5 on your own. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start with number 2. I don't know how to pronounce this name. I think it's Hirva. Hirva left home at 9:45 a.m. I'm going to use a different color. I think I'm going to use, decisions. I think I'm going to use that nice blue there. Okay. Hirva left home at 9:45 a.m. and returned home at 11:20 a.m. She spent 55 minutes at the gym and the rest of the time at the library. I guess I'll box all that in. How much time did Hirva spend at the library? Okay. Well, I'm going to do just like I did in the last one. I'm going to snip this problem out and I'm going to put it on a Jamboard for me to do my work with a little bit more space. That is definitely not enough space for me. Okay, so I know that she left home at 9:45 and she returned home at 11:20 a.m. Well, how much time was she gone? I don't know how much time had elapsed. So I think I'm going to use a number line here. You know what? And I don't know if I want to put an end to it. I think I'm gonna make it a nice long number line, just in case. And so I am going to start at 9:45 because that's when she left home. And I'm going to jump forward in landmark time jumps. So we can jump forward in groups of 5 minutes, groups of 15 minutes, or 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And I think because I know that 1 whole hour forward gives me 10:45, I'm going to start with that 1 hour. But if I jumped to 11:45, that's too far. So I think that I'm going to next jump to 11 o'clock, which is just 15 minutes. Do you see what I'm doing here? I am making jumps and I am annotating right here at the top how much that jump is valued so that I can keep track of my elapsed time. And from 11 to 11:20, well, that's 20 minutes. Do you see how I use those landmark numbers to move me along here? So how much time went by? Let's talk about that. We want to think about that elapsed time all together because this is when she left and this is when she returned. So we've got 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 20 minutes. Well, I'm going to add the minutes first. So 15 plus 20 is 35 minutes. I don't have to reorganize that because it's not over 60. So I know that she was gone for a total of 1 hour and 35 minutes. Now they went on in this problem to tell us some of the activities that she did. She had spent 55 minutes at the gym and the rest of the time at the library. So I think that I want to actually change this 1 hour into 60 minutes, which is another way to think of it. And I want to combine it with that 35. So 60 plus 35 minutes is 95 minutes that she was gone. Now they've told me that for 55 of the minutes, she was at the gym, and some of the other time, the rest of the time, she was at the library. So this is something that we're used to seeing here. I'm actually going to write this a little bit bigger for you. 95 minutes. For 55 of the minutes, she was one place, and the rest of the minutes, she was at another place. But we don't know what that other value is. Students in my class would recognize that this is a math mountain. And since we have one of the addends down here unknown, this would be a subtraction problem. Now, while you're not required to write the equation, I am going to use it here. This equation would look like 95 minus 55 equals that number. And to find that answer, I'm going to stack them up on top of each other. 95 minus 55. And when I subtract that, I get 40 minutes. So our unknown value is equal to 40 minutes. It's a lot of work for this problem, I know. How much time did Hirva spend at the library? Well, we determined that that unknown amount right there was 40 minutes. And that's why I converted my hour into minutes right here, because I wanted to be able to think in terms of minutes. I converted that right here because I wanted to think of it in terms of minutes, because when I pulled it apart, I didn't have to think about the hours, I had to think about the minutes. A lot of times that's the best way for me to figure it out. Let's go back to our page and let's answer the question. How much time did Hirva spend at the library? I'm going to turn my question around to start my answer. Hirva spent 40 minutes at the library. Did your answer match mine? If it didn't, mark the points that you got right, find where you went wrong, and ask someone for help. All right, number 3. Don't forget, you can pause and start at any time. Diego arrived at soccer practice at 8:45 a.m. Practice lasted 45 minutes, and then it took him 10 minutes to walk home. What time did Diego get home? Same strategy that I'm going to use. I'm going to snip, and I'm going to move it over here to a Jamboard so that I can have some space to do my work. I hope you're using a separate sheet of paper here. This is using elapsed time. So we know that Diego started out at 8:45 a.m. And it's important to remember that a.m. right there. I'm going to draw myself a number line. And I'm going to do some jumps. Okay, my number line is kind of wavy. It's a little bit better here. So here's 8:45 a.m. So if practice lasts 45 minutes, how much does that move us forward? Well, from 8:45, 45-minute jump is going to give us 9:30. And you can think of that from 8:45 to 9 o'clock is 15 minutes, and then 30 more minutes would be 9:30. Then it took him 10 minutes to walk home. 10 minutes to walk home. 10 more minutes from 9:30 is 9:40. What time did Diego get home? He got home at 9:40. Don't forget your label. AM. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to put my answer in a full sentence, which your teacher may or may not require. What time did Diego get home? Diego got home at, what did we say? 9:40 a.m. Beautiful. Number 4. Jan started working on her homework at 6:25 p.m. and she finished at 7:30 p.m. She spent 45 minutes on a book report and the rest of the time on math. Oh, this is another one of those, isn't it? How long did Jan spend on math? So we know the total elapsed time, but we only know what she did for part of that elapsed time. And so this is just like number 2. Let's put it on my Jamboard and work it out. So how much time has elapsed from 6:25 to 7:30? Well, I'm actually going to pause for a second to go get a clock. Give me just a second here. Okay, so I just went in, I snipped an image of the clock, and I'm going to mark the time that Jan started on her homework, and I'm going to use, I think I'll use red for this one. So Jan started working on her homework at 6:25. So I'm going to put the minute clock or the minute hand right here at the 25. That is the worst line ever. I don't like that one. Let's try this. Still not fantastic. All right, so 6:25. So I know that my hour hand is going to be somewhere like that, right? It's really terrible. I am not impressed with this. I'm going to switch out my stylus while I'm talking here and see if a different one works better. And we know that she finished her time at 7:30 p.m. Well, I know that 7:30 p.m., let me use blue for this one, that my minute hand is going to be right here and my hour hand is going to be all the way right there. And so you can kind of see that in blue. So to go from 6:25 all the way to 7:30, I have to go around the clock more than once, it looks like. So I could do it this way. I could go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. I kind of looped it a second time there. That is one way that you can do that. I find that way to be a bit more difficult. And so I'm going to go back to my number line here. And I hope that's okay with you guys. So if I started at 6:30 or 6:25 p.m. and I jumped one whole hour, that's going to give me 7:25 p.m. I probably should put that annotation on there. Yeah, this stylus works better. Okay, but I didn't want, she finished at 7:30, so I need to go 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes to get to 7:30, which was her end time, right? So how much time elapsed altogether? Well, 1 hour and 5 minutes is what I see here, but I don't want to think of my hour as an hour. I'm going to think of it as 60 minutes. So I'm doing it that way. So 60 minutes plus 5 minutes is 65 minutes. That is the time that has elapsed. And we know that for part of that, she spent 45 minutes on a book report, and she spent the rest of the time on math. Well, just like we did in the last one, and I think I'm going to actually move this out of the way. Just like we did in the last one, my students will recognize this down here as a math mountain. And because we have one of our add-ins missing, this is a subtraction problem. You are not required to write this equation, but it's something that we should be familiar with from all the time that we worked in it before. This is actually 65 minus 45, which is going to give us that unknown number. When I stack those numbers on top of each other, 65 minus 45, and we do our subtraction, we know that our unknown number's value is 20 or 20 minutes. That's that rest of the time that she spent on math. So the 45 minutes was on the book report, and that unknown amount, which we figured out to be, was the time that she spent on math. So the question was, how long did Jan spend on math? Jan spent 20 minutes on math. I took the question, I turned it around to start my answer. How long did Jan spend on math? Jan spent 20 minutes on math. Number 5 is much of the same. Shanna finished her chores at 4:25 p.m. She spent 35 minutes cleaning her room, 20 minutes bathing her dog, and 15 minutes folding clothes. What time did Shanna begin her chores? That word begin means that we are going to start at the end and work backwards. So that's one like we did yesterday. Let's do this. I put that clock there just in case I wanted to have it again easy. So we've already annotated. Now we've got to show our work and what we're thinking with some sort of a math drawing. So we know that she finished at 4:25 p.m. So I'm going to draw a number line, and I'm going to put 4:25 p.m. all the way here because that's where she ended. We're going backwards this time. So I'm going to just jump backwards 35 minutes. 30, and then I'm going to do 5. Oh, I think it would be better for me to do it the other way. 4:25, if I'm going to go back 5 minutes, that's going to give me 4:20, and then back 30 minutes is going to give me 3:50. And if I did want to use that clock to think about 20 minutes and going backwards, here's 20. And if I wanted to go backwards a certain amount, 30 minutes, I know that that leaves me at the 10 here. And so 10 groups of 5 is 50. So we know 350. Now she was cleaning her room for 20 minutes. So we're going to go backwards another 20 minutes. Well, if you go back another 20 minutes from 3:50, you're going to arrive at 3:30 p.m. No, that wasn't cleaning her room. 35 minutes was cleaning her room. 20 minutes was bathing her dog. And now 15 minutes was folding clothes. So 15 minutes before 3:30 was 3:15. What time did Shanna begin her chores? Well, let's just real quick look at this here. For cleaning her room, we've got 35 minutes that we jumped back. For bathing her dog, that was that 20 minutes right here. And for folding her clothes, that's that jump 15 minutes, which means what time did Shanna begin her chores? Shanna began her chores at 3:15 p.m. So I'm going to go back to my question and I'm going to answer it. Shanna began her chores at 3:15 p.m. Well, would you look at the next page? We've got our friend Puzzled Penguin, and he's confused again. Poor fella. He's always confused. He said, "Dear math students, today I was asked to find the time Jim got to the doctor's office if he woke up at 7:55 a.m. Spent 45 minutes getting ready, and then drove 20 minutes to the doctor's office. Here is how I solved the problem." I see how he uses an explanation here. It's a good explanation, and it helps me know what he did wrong, and it helps you know what he did wrong. He said, from 7:55 on a clock, I counted up 45 minutes to 8:45. Then I counted up 20 minutes to 9:05. Jim got to the doctor's office at 9:05 a.m. Is my answer correct? If not, please correct my work and tell me what I did wrong. How do you know my answer is wrong? Your friend, Puzzled Penguin. Well, I don't know about you, but take a minute to pause and think about this. Pause the video, think about this. Come back when you have an idea. I see right here where Puzzled Penguin said from 7:55 on a clock, he counted up 45 minutes to 8:45. He's off by just a little bit, isn't he? He said it's 8:45, but I think that's incorrect. It would only be 8:45 if he started at 8 o'clock on a clock. It should actually be 8:40 if he counted up. And so if you counted up 20 minutes from that, it would actually be 9 o'clock. He said Jim got to the doctor's office at 9:05, but I would say that he made a small mistake in the very beginning when he counted up 45 minutes. Jim didn't actually get to the doctor's office at 9:05. He got there at 9 o'clock a.m. Be sure to write Puzzled Penguin a polite answer to help him learn. Number 7, and then the check for understanding. Number 7 says, Wayne left home at 3:50 p.m. to go to the park. It took 30 minutes to get to the park. He spent 45 minutes at the park. What time did he leave the park? Well, I'm going to do this one just a little bit differently. I think I'm going to do that one just right here. So 3:50 plus 30 minutes would make that actually 4:20. And then if he spent 45 minutes, let me do it like this. 3:50 and then 4:20 is 30 minutes later. And then he spent 45 minutes, which would mean, that crosses the hour, doesn't it? It does. So if he spent 45 minutes at the park, from 4:20 to 5 o'clock, that's 40 minutes. So 5 more minutes would be 5:05. So I think he left the park at 5:05. Oops, I forgot to annotate. If you forget to annotate and you're my student, go back and do that. I think from doing it this way that he left the park at 5:05 p.m. Is that what you got? Does your answer match mine? Don't forget to answer the check for understanding. And always, always, always write down your questions and ask your teacher for help. I'll see you soon.